Hey everybody, welcome to this Board Game Life quick take of the expansion for the Manhattan Project. And this expansion is called the Manhattan Project Second Stage. This is an expansion for the game Manhattan Project, designed by Brandon Tibbetts and released by Minion Games in 2012. They recently had a Kickstarter for this game over here in 2012, and the game was released in 2013. So let's take a quick look at what you get inside the box. This is a combination of a bunch of different expansions for the game Manhattan Project, which is one of my favorite games from last year. So let's kind of check this out over here. First off, the box is really nice and sturdy. It's got really nice Manhattan Project style art to it that we've come to get used to, from the original game. And let's see what we get in here. So there's a 4-page rule book that you get full color. It explains all the different expansions that you get with the game. There are a bunch of resource tiles over here. So you get a number of different resource tiles over here to hold the money, the yellow cake, damage tiles, and bombs loaded little... I guess they're not tiles, they're little circle guys, little chits. You get a rocket expansion, so there are a number of rockets over here. And then this guy here replaces the airstrike. It replaces the airstrike area of the main game board, where it's got one marker over here to place a worker, or you can place 3 of them. So depending on if you want a very competitive game, where people are taking a lot of damage, you can play it this way. Or if you want a tamer game, then you play with this one over here. Okay. We've got some boards over here where you can place cards onto. So these are factory cards. They go on here. These are available bomb cards. They go on over here. So these are just, instead of laying them to the side of the board, you place them onto here. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there's a rocket track with the rocket expansion. So these are the rocket tracks that every player has. They go from 0 to 8, and use your rocket on it. Then this is an interesting expansion over here. This is basically a personalities expansion, where you have 7 different people that you can take, and you get their special abilities. For example, this guy over here, the output of the main board, reactor, and enrichment plant are doubled for you and usable as buildings in step 2 of your turn. So while you have one of these tiles in your possession, you gain that special ability. If you take another tile, you put yours back, so you can only have one at a time. There's some extra money tokens over here. These are 10 money. There are a couple of player aid sheets over here. These are pretty nice. They basically help you with the setup of the game, tell you what you need, important reminders, and then over here, the scores that you need to win the game, and what you must do. Place workers or retrieve workers. If you play the game, then that definitely will make sense. So these are pretty nice to have. There is an expansion to this game here that does H-bombs. That's these guys over here. And the H-bombs use the orange cubes. So this is, what do they call it? Lithium deuteride, I believe. Yeah, lithium deuteride. So you now have, in addition to yellow cake, you have these guys over here if you're playing with that expansion. So this over here is for the rocket expansion. You can see the different outputs over here of the factories. You know, they output the rockets. And this is lithium deuteride again, lithium deuteride expansion. And you might have noticed a couple seconds ago that I shuffled through and I pulled these guys off to the side. There was an expansion for the game that came out shortly after the game called Nations. This is Nations 2, where it adds a bunch more countries. You now have Australia, Brazil, India, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, and South Africa. Basically, you start off as one of these countries, and you can use these, let's say if you're Australia, for the cost of 3, you can collect 1 yellow cake for each mine, etc. So these are just special abilities that you have for the entire game. Very similar to how the Nations expansions work. So this is Nations 2. So altogether, you have a whole bunch of expansions in this. Again, to cover them, there's the whole H-Bombs expansion that that uses the new cubes and the new cards. There's the Rockets expansion that uses the tracks and some new cards and the rocket markers themselves. There's the Nations 2 expansion that has the new countries with pretty good explanations here of what some of them do. There's some clarifications. And then the personalities, the 7 tiles. And last but not least, the airstrike overlay. So you can play with as many of these as you want. You can play with one of them. You can play with all of them, depending on how complex you want the game to be. One thing that I had read on BGG a while ago was that there would be some replacements for some of the starting cards in this. It does not ship. If you're unaware, there was a misprint on 2 of the cards in the original printing of the game. Those are not in here. So I believe you can contact Minion Games to get a replacement set of those if it really bugs you. And the misprint on them was that the backs are not labeled as starting cards. So it's easy enough to mark it yourself if you have a problem with it. So that's the Manhattan Project Second Stage expansion. Adds a bunch of stuff to already great game. And that's it. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching.